Okay. All right. So let's go. Let's get this thing started. Oops. You know what? Let me do it like this. Seem to work better. Okay, so this is the Kung Fu Life Podcast, episode 26, and I'm Leo. Couple adjustments I had to make the last time I tried doing the microphone away from this little sound shield, and it didn't sound as good. Didn't sound nearly as good, so I brought it back. So I'm going to be leaning forward a little bit more, which is not great for your posture, but I got my little posture brace on. And also one of the original Kung Fu of Louisville shirts. The very simple shirt. It was actually, I intended it to be an instructor shirt. And I should have actually have written instructor on the back, but I didn't. But, you know, one of the things that I really like in terms of short sleeve shirts, I really like pockets in general, but with shirts, I like this pocket over your left breast. It's useful, and I just like it. I don't know. Something about it, like, it's just useful. You never know. I mean, you might have like some, especially, you know, maybe people don't pay cash a whole lot anymore, but you know, you might have some change if you pay cash. Easy to put in your pocket. It's very easy to remember too. So when you get home, very easy to take it out and put it in your jar or wherever you want to put it. And or put a pen, pencil, you know, whatever, a little something. You get a business card or something, just tuck it in there. I mean, it's just useful. The usefulness of pockets cannot be denied. In fact, I have a beef with my wife right now because she never buys any clothes with any pockets, and that's a problem. So I'm always looking for her phone, her whatever, and it's annoying. I'm going to tell you right now, it's very, very annoying. So I'm in the process of having to buy her some clothes with pockets. In fact, that's a good idea. I should buy some of those clothes for Valentine's Day. I need to make a note to myself. Let's do that. Buy clothes for Valentine's Day. Buy clothes with pockets for Valentine's Day. Okay. All right, good. All right, so. All right, one of the other lessons learned for today is that editing the podcast is kind of painful to me because it's painful to listen to myself. I mean, I'm getting used to it now, but it's still painful for me. Especially with the things that I'm trying to fix, which are constantly coming up. It's so difficult to change the habits of speech, of the patterns of speech, I should say, and other flaws. I mean, there's just so many flaws to work on, but you can't let that get you bogged down. But it is painful to listen to myself. But I do notice some improvements in my speech in general. Like when I'm on the podcast and also outside of the podcast, I'm speaking more clearly, I think more concisely, and it's been better all the way around. However, that last podcast, I think, was particularly worse. I think it was because it was more of a informal kind of, this is my process of doing things, and I didn't really have anything written down for it other than the, you know, the New Year stuff that I showed you guys. So there you have it. All right, so this is part 6 of the Tao of Health Sex, and Longevity by Daniel P. Reed. Here's the book again. I am videoing this time. And the deeper I've been getting into this book, it's just been good. I've also tried that diet I was telling you about in the previous episodes, and it's been working consistently, like making me feel really good. So check it out. Check this book out. It's a good book so far. I haven't finished reading it, but definitely check it out. So this next part is called the 5 elemental activities. So I might skip through some of this because some of it isn't that useful. At least unless you really want to get into the whole Taoist philosophy and learn how they do things. But here we go. I'll see. Maybe I won't skip over anything. The theory of the 5 elemental activities, Wu Hsing, further explains the cosmological associations between man and universe. Unlike the 5 elements in traditional Western philosophy, the 5 elemental activities of Taoism refer to active forces, not inert elements, although they use similar symbols. The Yellow Emperor's Classic states the 5 elemental activities of wood, fire, earth, metal, and water encompass all phenomena of nature. It is a symbolism that applies equally to man. These 5 primordial cosmic forces function according to the pattern relationships based on their relative characteristics. Each force is generated, in parentheses they have given birth, by one of the other forces and suppressed, in parentheses conquered, by a different one. And they have a little diagram here. You have to get the book to look at that. A literal look at the symbols explains their relationships. Wood burns to generate fire. Fire produces ash, which generates earth. Earth generates and yields forth metal. When heated, metal becomes molten, generating the water element. Water promotes plant growth, generating generating wood. Following the suppressive cycle, wood depletes soil of nutrients, suppressing earth. Earth soils and channels water, conquering it. Water suppresses fire by extinguishing it. Fire suppresses metal by melting it. And metal suppresses wood by cutting it. The generative cycle is called the mother-son relationship, and the suppressive cycle is the victor-vanquished relationship. Their consistent interactions produce the myriad phenomena of the universe. The 5 elemental activities manifest themselves in the human body through their association with the 5 sets of paired organs, primarily the solid yin organs. The heart is ruled by fire, the liver by wood, the kidneys by water, the pancreas by earth, and lungs by metal. For example, there exists a generative mother-son relationship between the wood energy of the liver and the fire energy of the heart, but there is a suppressive victor-vanquished relation between the wood of the liver and the earth of the pancreas. Excess water energy in the kidneys suppresses the fire energy of the heart. Sufficient earth energy must be generated by the pancreas/stomach in order to sustain the metal energy of lungs, large intestine, and so forth. That's kind of interesting. The 5 elemental activities have other primal associations as well. There are the 5 elemental flavors, the 5 seasons, 5 sounds, 5 climates, and others. The following table illustrate the important cosmic associations and systematic relationships of the 5 elemental activities. I might be interested to look into the 5 seasons. But then they have a chart basically just telling you the 5 elemental activities and their cosmic associations with the different organs in the body, so on and so forth. And this is basically the chart that they use, that the Chinese physicians use to determine how to fix the problem that you're having. So now it gets into a little bit of that. Chinese physicians use a combination of yin-yang and the 5 elemental activities to diagnose the cause and chart the course of disease and debility, as well as to prescribe appropriate remedies. It is a basic tenet of Taoism that the same primordial principles that govern the universe at large also run through each and every part of it, according to the same patterns. This is also the conclusion of modern quantum physics, which regards the entire universe as a giant macrocosmic atom, and the atom as a mini universe. Chinese doctors view the human body as a microcosm of the universe, and they make no distinctions between nature and human nature. As in Western dualism, which isolates man from his roots in nature, Following are simple examples of how the 5 elemental activities come into play in traditional Chinese diagnosis and treatment. And I thought this was an interesting passage. So, a person with a volatile temper who suffers from blurry vision and frequently shouts at people would be diagnosed as suffering from liver inflammation because, according to our chart, liver conditions are reflected in the eyes and associated with the emotion of anger and the sound of shouting. When the wood energy of an inflamed liver burns out of control, it causes overexcitation of fire energy in the heart, according to the generative relation of wood to fire. The doctor might take 1 or 2 approaches to rebalance the affected energies, either sedate the liver in order to suppress its inflammatory effects on the heart, or else tonify the kidneys to enhance their water energy, which is doubly effective because water energy nourishes the wood of the agitated liver, while at the same time suppressing the excess fire fanned in the heart by the overactive wood energy of the liver. A child who suffers from chronic fear, which is a water emotion, tends to wet his bed, a water function, and therefore he probably suffers from a deficiency of kidney energy, a water organ. Comforting words and stern warnings can never talk a child out of this condition. Instead, the Chinese approach would be to tonify the child's kidneys with appropriate diet, herbs, and acupuncture therapy, thereby enhancing kidney energy to the point that the emotion of fear associated with kidney deficiency disappears along with the associated symptom of incontinence. A person with a very red complexion, which is a fire color, who tends to laugh a lot, fire sound, and is exceedingly jovial, fire emotion, probably has an overactive heart, fire organ. I don't see that as a problem, really, but here again, there are 2 avenues of approach to quelling the fire. One is to sedate heart energy with cooling yin herbs. The other is to tonify the kidneys as the first example, thereby enhancing water energy sufficiently to suppress excess fire energy in the heart through the victor-vanquished relation of water to fire. It was written by the author Daniel P. Reed, Chinese Herbal Medicine. I don't know why they would want to fix that, although maybe it's the red complexion that they're trying to fix. Maybe the patient doesn't want the red complexion, or maybe it's causing some other issues. I don't know. The permutations and combinations of the system are complex and infinite, and the Chinese physician must learn to juggle all factors, internal and external, in making his diagnosis. Then he applies the same system of complementary forces in reverse to effect a cure. This requires a lot of practical clinical experience, what the Chinese call Lin Chuan, bedside experience. As in all the Taoist arts, the key to success in medicine is practice, not theory. And the measure of that success lies in practical results, not abstract deductions. The Chinese medical system takes into account many vital health factors that are largely ignored or misunderstood in Western medicine. For example, when certain climatic conditions become extreme, such as wind or heat or dampness, specific internal organs are directly affected through the system of associated energies. Therefore, the Chinese always adjust their diets according to the weather and the season, in order to balance internal and external energy conditions. In highly humid climates and seasons, Chinese menus strongly favor ginger, garlic, peppers, and other pungent fire energy flavors because they balance and dry out excess dampness accumulated in the body from the climate and expel it in the form of perspiration. And I've always felt that's true because there's certain foods I don't like to eat in the winter, mainly seafood. I much prefer to eat seafood in the summertime, and fruits I prefer to eat in the summertime as well, although I eat those year round, but I really like them during the summertime. In winter, back to the book, in winter, warming foods and herbs are used to combat external cold, and in summer, cooling foods protect the vital organs from damage by external heat. Today, modern refrigeration and rapid transportation systems have made all types of food available all year round in most Western countries, which has served only to drive Western diets even further from the seasonal patterns intended by nature. Sudden shifts in emotion and mood can trigger a chain reaction of energy imbalance throughout the body, and these reactions are just as strong as those caused by wind and heat, diet, and drugs. It is a well-known fact in Western medicine that a person suffering from extreme personal grief, such as the death of a spouse, becomes highly vulnerable to all sorts of disease and debility. And if the grief is prolonged, the damage can become irreversible. Fear, as we have seen, is a symptom of temporary kidney dysfunction, but prolonged chronic fear can cause permanent kidney damage. Frequent fits of anger reflect liver problems. But a person who is by nature angry all the time will damage an otherwise healthy liver, which then generates even more anger in the vicious psychosomatic circle. In Chinese medicine, physiological and psychological factors are as inseparable as yin and yang. I really like that idea. The idea of treating patients suffering from serious mental and emotional disturbances by lying them down on a psychiatrist's couch and talking about it strikes Chinese physicians as a method more appropriate for spiritual exorcism and temple ceremonies, but entirely useless from a medical point of view, or viewpoint, they say. As we shall see, recent research in nutritional therapy has confirmed the invisible links between physical and mental health, a fact of life known and recorded by Taoists thousands of years ago. So I have one problem with that. I do actually think that psychiatrists are useful, and psychiatrists and therapists are useful to people, and I think they're useful to help people understand their issues and where they came from, and to help people talk it out. And so I think a lot of the therapy and psychiatry is just talking it out and getting you to talk it out and getting you to realize where your problems have come from. But they help guide you and they help guide you in the direction that you need to go. Ideally, I mean, if it's a good therapist or psychiatrist, obviously. But I strongly agree with the Chinese in terms of fixing any problems physically, trying to fix any psychological problems physically by nutrition. I think it just makes sense. Your body affects your mind. Your body supports your mind. Your body nourishes your mind. So if you're giving it bad nutrients, then you're going to have a bad mind, a bad mentality. Makes sense to me. Anyways, let's see. I think we're gonna leave it there. I like that. All right, so in terms of Muay Thai Clan news, the next workshop is going to be the Detroit workshop. It is going to be an online workshop on Saturday, February 27th, and it's called Forms for Fighting. That's the topic, I guess, or title of the workshop. Starts at 10 a.m. I will add a link in the show notes, so check it out. It'd be worth attending if you can make it. I've always enjoyed going to Detroit. I think Detroit might have been one of the first Kung Fu trips I've taken. I think so. I think it was one of the first Kung Fu trips I took. And it's always been a fun time. I enjoyed going to Detroit more than I thought I would. So, yeah, so obviously this one is online, but when things get back to normal, then if you have the opportunity, go visit the schools that are up in Detroit. They're run by my Sihing, Owen Matson, who is an awesome guy, awesome Kung Fu guy, awesome Sifu. All of my students who have trained with him have really enjoyed training with him. He's a good dude and has amazing Kung Fu, so what can you say? If you want to support the podcast, click the link in the episode notes to support via PayPal and sign up for my email list on the Kung Fu Louisville website. It's on the homepage. Just type in your email and you will get emails from me regarding the podcast, regarding training occasionally, and other things that might come up. Don't worry, I don't give it out to anybody. And yeah, so if you're interested, let me know, or don't let me know. Just sign up on the website. Check out the Facebook page, rate the episodes, and, do all the other stuff that you do for other podcasts and such. And start looking at your nutrition. Check out this book. Very simply, just separate the food groups like proteins, carbohydrates, fruits, and separate those meals. Maybe make one meal completely fruit, and you can have vegetables with every meal. Try that. I mean, I think that's probably the most simple, useful nutritional advice I've heard in the days that I've been working on it, which has been pretty consistent the past few days, has been really good. I mean, the energy level I felt has been really good. And I mean, I haven't been following it perfectly, but pretty close to perfect. And it's a good way. It's good to get into a routine anyway. And this makes sense to me. Like it makes sense to me. So check it out if you feel like it. Nutrition is important. Anyway, thanks for listening, and I will talk to you guys next time.